It wasn't what you think. I never meant to hurt you. You're still my everything. We just didn't know how to handle it. I could feel the manipulation behind the words, the way she was trying to downplay what had happened. It was just a wedding, she said, as if that was supposed to make it all right, as if the years of sacrifice, the dreams I had built for this family, could be erased with a few empty words. Emily's message came next. Dad, please, you're still my dad. Nothing's changed. I love you, and I need you here. She had no idea how hollow those words sounded now, no understanding of how deeply she had cut me. She had no idea what it meant to be erased from her life like that, to have everything we'd shared ripped away without warning. I sat there, reading their messages, feeling the weight of their desperation pressing down on me. But inside, there was no urgency, no need to answer. They had made the choices, and now they had to live with them. Everything changed, I thought to myself. You made sure of that. I returned to the house a few days later, not to stay, but to finish what I had started. I had packed a few things at the motel, but there were still clothes, a few keepsakes, things I couldn't leave behind. As I walked through the front door, it felt like a final step, a transition. The walls that had once held our family now felt hollow, like an old house that had outlived its purpose. Margaret and Emily were there, of course. They had been waiting for me. As soon as they saw me, they tried to confront me, to get me to listen, to talk. But I didn't engage. I stayed calm, emotionally detached, as if I were watching strangers argue instead of people I had spent my life with. The hurt wasn't gone, but I had learned how to live with it, how to survive it. Tom, please, Margaret said, her voice cracking. This isn't the answer. We're your family. You can't just walk away. I looked at her, the woman I had given everything to, and felt nothing but a quiet resolve. You can keep the house, the things, all of it. But I'm taking back my freedom. I'm done living for you, for your expectations. It's my time now. Emily opened her mouth to say something, but I held up a hand, stopping her. No more explanations, no more promises. There was nothing left to say. There were no raised voices, no accusations, no drama, just peace. The kind of peace that comes with finally making a choice, with finally choosing yourself after a lifetime of giving everything away. They stood there, silent, watching me pack the last of my things, and for the first time in years, I felt free. I drove away, the house shrinking in the rear view mirror, until it was nothing more than a blur. The road stretched out before me, wide and open, like a future I had never allowed myself to imagine. For the first time in years, I wasn't worried about what they thought or what they needed. It was just me, and the silence of a world I was learning to navigate on my own. I couldn't help but reflect on the irony of it all. Decades of sacrifice, of love, of giving everything I had, traded for a single day of exclusion. A day that had unraveled everything I thought I knew about family, about loyalty. They had taken everything they needed from me. And in the end, they hadn't even cared enough to include me in the one thing that should have mattered most. They thought the wedding was the beginning of a new chapter. For me, it was the end of a story I had written alone for too long, and I was finally closing the book. Every detail designed to keep my real life hidden, and she never asked. She never needed to know. Now, as I rolled through the dark streets, I realized something else. The sting wasn't just about Drew. It was about how easily my life had been upended, how easily she had fallen into his arms and dragged him into our home. It was about the choices she'd made without ever asking herself the consequences. But it was also about the choices I had made, the secrets I had kept. And now, I had to finish what I started. The safe house was a far cry from the life I had once known. Tucked away in the rural outskirts, surrounded by trees and the unbroken silence of the countryside, it was the kind of place that promised anonymity. No one would find me here. I'd been here for hours now, running through the final preparations, going over the surveillance feeds, for what felt like the 1,000th time. My fingers moved methodically as I checked my gear, everything in place just as it should be. The scope of the operation was clear in my mind. The stakes were high, but the risks had always been part of the job. I had accepted them a long time ago. I paused for a moment, watching the monitor on the wall. A grainy image of the house flashed across the screen. It was still, quiet, just like it had been when I lived there, just like it had been when Jenna would call my job boring. She never knew. She never knew the weight of the work I did, the people I watched, the dangers I faced. To her, I was just the man who came home each night with a dull briefcase in hand, who worked long hours in an office that she barely understood. If only she knew. The surveillance footage flickered, and I leaned forward. There they were, Jenna and Drew. They were in the living room now, sitting too close. The chemistry between them undeniable. He was smirking, the way he always did. Smug, like he knew something I didn't. Jenna, unaware of the fate she'd just walked into, laughed at something he said. It was a side of her I hadn't seen in years, the carefree laughter, the flirtation. I watched as Drew leaned in, whispering something too quiet for me to hear. It didn't matter. I had a job to do. And that job had nothing to do with watching their relationship unfold. It was time to act. I keyed in the command, "Go." The moment the words left my mouth, the team moved in. SUVs roared to life, their tires screeching as they tore down the street toward the house. I could hear the engines over the monitors, the rapid approach of the agents closing in. Every second felt stretched thin, like time itself was hanging in the balance. Inside the house, everything was still, too still. Then, the doorbell rang. Jenna answered. I watched her face twist in confusion as she opened the door, clearly unprepared for what was about to happen. Drew, on the other hand, didn't look surprised. He looked like he knew this moment would come. He tried to run. Drew's body jerked, attempting to break free, but before he could get more than a few feet, an agent tackled him to the ground. The sound of Drew's grunts and the sharp slap of handcuffs were drowned out by the flood of adrenaline in my veins. He wasn't going anywhere. Jenna screamed in shock, her eyes wide with disbelief. Her hands shook as she stepped back from the door. But no one was coming to save her now. I watched it all unfold on the screen, emotionless, detached. The team swept through the house with practiced precision, securing each room. It didn't take long before they found it, hidden in the bedroom closet, a small safe buried beneath the floorboards. They didn't need to break it open. It was already unlocked. Inside were stacks of cash, thick, unmarked bills, and several forged documents, passports, identification cards. And then, buried beneath it all, burner phones. The kind you don't keep unless you're trying to hide something. One of the agents held up a phone, flipping it over to reveal its brand new, untouched exterior. I could almost feel the weight of Jenna's panic building on the other side of the screen. "This is yours, right?" one of the agents asked, his voice cold as he looked at her. Jenna shook her head violently. "That is not mine. I don't know anything about that." Her voice was shaking, but there was more to it. Fear, panic. She was already slipping into the realization that her world was about to crumble. The team didn't respond. They simply continued to search, to gather the evidence. Jenna's eyes met mine through the screen. I knew she could feel my gaze on her, even though she couldn't see me. She wasn't arrested yet, but that was just a technicality. She would be, soon enough. She had no idea who she was dealing with now. The operations base was quieter than usual. The hum of computers, the tapping of keys, the steady flow of agents moving in and out. It all faded into the background as I sat in front of a desk littered with evidence, files, photos, and documents spread out in front of me. Every piece was important. Every detail mattered. But my mind was elsewhere. My phone buzzed on the table, cutting through the monotony. I glanced down without thinking, only to see her name flashing on the screen. Jenna. I didn't answer. Not this time. A moment later, another buzz. A text message. What did you do? I let the words sit there for a few seconds, unread, before scrolling through my photos. The image was there. One I had taken months ago, before Drew even entered the picture. A surveillance photo of Jenna, smiling at Drew in a cafe, completely unaware of the camera hidden across the street. I sent it without a word. No explanation. Just the image. Let her see it. Let her see what she had really walked into. The phone buzzed again, this time more insistent. Another call from her. I hesitated. Then I picked up. Her voice was small, fragile, like a person who had just realized the floor beneath them was gone. Who are you? She asked, the words barely a whisper. I took a breath, leaning back in the chair. I was calm, detached, cold. The man you told to leave. And with that, I hung up. That was all she needed to know. The evidence was irrefutable. Drew was facing multiple federal charges, everything from money laundering to conspiracy. The sting operation had been a success, but the weight of it wasn't lost on me. It wasn't just about taking down a criminal. It was about seeing this through to the end. As for Jenna, she wouldn't be charged. Not yet. Her name was in the files, though. A note attached to her file marked under review. The system would track her, investigate her ties, watch her every move. She wouldn't be arrested today, but she would feel the repercussions of her decisions for months to come. This was never about revenge. It had never been personal. It was about justice, about completing a job I had spent years building, a job that didn't care about feelings or past histories. Jenna had every chance to ask questions, to dig deeper, to wonder what I did for a living. She chose not to. She wasn't just careless with my heart. She was careless with everything, and now she would live with the consequences. As I walked out of the operation center, the weight of the case lifting from my shoulders, I thought about what Jenna would be left with. She thought I was boring. She thought I was weak. But now she knows. I was never the man she thought I was. And she was never ready for the truth. The door clicked shut behind me. The mission was over. And so was everything else.